After more than a decade exploring the dark corners of the human soul in Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, Vince Gilligan returns with a series that seems to come from the future, but speaks directly to the present. Pluribus, now streaming on Apple TV, is a science fiction parable about the end of individuality, like a story where humanity achieves total happiness, and with it, loses its soul. The result is one of the most unsettling works of the year, not because of its apocalyptic tone, but because it feels eerily real. Vince Gilligan remains one of the most important storytellers in modern television. In Breaking Bad, he turned a frustrated chemistry teacher into a monster. In Better Call Saul, he transformed cynicism into tragedy. Now with Pluribus, he looks the other way. After years studying evil, he writes about goodness and discovers that it can be just as dangerous. In an interview with Variety, Gilligan admitted, "For years I wrote about anti-heroes, but right now the world needs heroes again. Yet in his new universe, those heroes are not noble saviors, but fragile, broken people, incapable of accepting a happiness that feels forced." Pluribus begins with a premise that sounds scientific but quickly becomes metaphysical. In a desert observatory in New Mexico, two astronomers detect a signal coming from 600 light-years away. The message contains no words or numbers, only four tones nucleotides that form RNA: guanine, uracil, adenine, and cytosine, the molecules that sustain life. Fascinated, scientists recreate the sequence in a lab. What begins as scientific curiosity turns catastrophic. A single rat bite releases a virus that doesn't kill, but connects. It fuses almost all human minds into a single, shared consciousness. The pandemic doesn't destroy civilization. It transforms it. In a matter of hours, humanity starts to smile, to speak in plural, to think with one voice. The phenomenon is called the joining. Only 13 people are mysteriously immune. Among them is Carol Sturka, Rhea Seehorn, a romance novelist, alcoholic, and misanthrope, the last free consciousness on Earth. The use of RNA in Pluribus is not incidental. It's the show's conceptual nucleus. In biology, ribonucleic acid acts as the translator of genetic information from DNA, the intermediary between code and life. In Gilligan's fiction, that same molecule becomes a vehicle of infection, a kind of psychic glue that turns the entire species into a living network. It's a hauntingly poetic idea. The same molecule that allows life to exist is now erasing difference. The extraterrestrial signal doesn't bring destruction or invasion, but perfect harmony. The infected aren't zombies, Gilligan told Men's Health. They still have all their faculties, but they're unshakably happy. You can't insult them. They'd do anything for you. In Pluribus, RNA no longer carries biological information. It transmits emotion. It's a metaphor for hyperconnectivity, a constant flow of data promising unity, but ultimately dissolving individuality. Carol Sturka is no moral compass. She's cynical, volatile, and self-destructive. Yet that's precisely what makes her the last defender of humanity. Every time she loses control, her anger triggers global seizures. Millions die linked to her emotional outbursts. "I'm the biggest mass murderer since Stalin," she says with bitter irony. Gilligan described her to Variety as a reluctant, inept hero. "I'm interested in people who rise up despite being scared or sad or broken." Carol isn't a moral example. She's proof that feeling is a form of resistance. Her existence is, by itself, a virus within the Utopia. The most disturbing part of Pluribus is not its sci-fi logic, but its emotional one. The virus doesn't inflict pain. It erases it. War disappears, crime vanishes, inequality dissolves. The Earth becomes a network of serene, cooperative minds. In one of the most revealing scenes, an immune survivor tells Carol, "There's no crime, no racism, no wars. Why would you want to save the world?" It's not a rhetorical question. It's the show's central philosophical tension. What if world peace can only exist once individuality is gone? What if harmony demands the extinction of conflict, and, with it, of thought itself? Gilligan's world suggests that utopia may itself be a form of tyranny. That peace, when sustained by the elimination of desire and contradiction, is not moral triumph, but spiritual failure. In Hegelian terms, Pluribus depicts a humanity that has reconciled so completely with itself that history has stopped. Conflict, the engine of consciousness, no longer exists. In perfect stillness, humanity has ceased to be a story and has become a system. To assist Carol, the joining assigns her a companion named Zosia, Carolina Widra, who happens to look identical to the male hero of Carol's own romance novels. Zosia is calm, radiant, unflappable. She speaks in plural, we, and embodies the soft face of control. In Polygon, Widra recalled Gilligan's direction. They're not robots or aliens. They're serene, peaceful human beings who no longer remember what it feels like to suffer. Zosia represents perfection. Carol, imperfection. Between them, Pluribus poses its most unsettling question. Do we really want to be happy, or do we want to be free? The joining isn't just an alien hive mind, it's an exact reflection of our hyper-connected world, where collective thinking becomes indistinguishable from algorithmic thinking. The infected repeating, "We just want to help you," echo the language of digital systems designed to please. The machine doesn't oppress, it seduces. It offers security, empathy, and belonging. It promises we'll never be alone as long as we think alike. Gilligan makes no secret of his distrust of Silicon Valley. As he told Variety, AI is the world's most expensive plagiarism machine. Thanks again, Silicon Valley, for screwing up the planet. Yet he was careful to clarify something essential. Pluribus was not conceived as a story about artificial intelligence. The idea predates the AI boom by nearly a decade. Still, Gilligan acknowledges the uncanny overlap. I didn't mean it as a metaphor for AI, but I understand why people see it that way. It's about how we lose what makes us unique when everything becomes collective. That's what makes Pluribus prophetic, a story imagined before AI dominance, but one that feels written in its shadow. Pluribus also functions as an allegory of emotional politics. Philosopher Byung-Chul Han wrote that we live in a society where depression is the natural response to the mandate of being happy. Gilligan visualizes that thesis, a planet that eradicates sadness at the cost of its humanity. The infected are the embodiment of modern wellness culture, productive, calm, endlessly positive. But beneath their serenity lies the violence of consensus. Dissent becomes pathology, sadness a contagion. Carol's anger, her grief, her guilt become acts of rebellion. In a world that worships harmony, she is the necessary disruption, the glitch in the perfect system. The show's title comes from the Latin phrase e pluribus unum, out of many, one, inscribed on the Great Seal of the United States. Gilligan told TechRadar he chose it as both homage and warning. In Pluribus, the motto turns against itself. The union that once symbolized democracy becomes the annihilation of individuality. Humanity has taken unity to its logical extreme and found emptiness. Out of many, one. Out of one, nothing. Beyond its plot, Pluribus raises a haunting artistic question. What becomes of art in a world without conflict? As Rhea Seehorn told Variety, what moves us in art isn't perfection, it's the humanity behind it. Art, like emotion, thrives on imperfection. Artificial intelligence, like the joining, seeks to eliminate error, and in doing so, kills the spark of the human. Gilligan understands that, after years dissecting moral corruption, he now examines the corruption of empathy. His series doesn't condemn happiness, but its programming, the conversion of feeling into formula. At its core, Pluribus is a story of emotional resistance. Carol doesn't fight aliens or machines. She fights the collective desire to eliminate pain. Her suffering, her fury, her guilt are the final gestures of human freedom. Philosopher Gil Lipovetsky wrote about the era of emptiness, where well-being replaces meaning. Gilligan takes that to its extreme. A humanity without conflict is a humanity without soul. In one of the series' most striking lines, Carol says, "You don't ask a drug dealer to describe their heroin." That's the whole thesis. Imposed happiness is a narcotic, a utopia so complete it erases the capacity to think. Ultimately, Pluribus isn't about the future. It's about now. About a society that delegates its thought to algorithms, that fears disagreement more than deceit, that mistakes connection for communion. Gilligan's series is a warning against emotional comfort, against the illusion that harmony can exist without conflict, because even in absolute happiness, tyranny can hide. Carol, with her flawed humanity, stands as the last reminder of our right to pain, to chaos, to contradiction, our right not to belong to the hive. What do you think of the series so far? Do you have any interesting theories? Leave them in the comments. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, leave us a like and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.